Now they are coming after the home gardener. They're coming after people like me, just trying to grow food for my family in the backyard, trying to cancel us, saying that our backyard gardens are causing more of a carbon footprint than conventional farming. So I'm going to respond the one and only way that I know how to respond to news stories like this. And that is, I'm going to do the opposite of what they say, and I'm going to build and create the best garden ever for my family. I found this story kind of trending and being shared on social media, and I tend to not often comment on these types of things. I just keep my mouth shut, go about my own business, and live my life. But sometimes I see these things and I just can't help myself. There's a whole reason why I decided to live the lifestyle that we're living, and it's my way of reacting to when I see stories like this one. So this article reads, "Carbon footprint of homegrown food 5 times greater than those grown conventionally." Now, at first reading that, I chuckled to myself because that can't possibly be true, can it? But you go on, and it's based on a study that was actually done at the University of Michigan. And what this study claims to have found is that the carbon footprint of homegrown foods is 5 times greater than produce from conventional agricultural practices. The majority of the emissions do not come from the growing of the food themselves, the scientists say, but from the infrastructure needed to allow the food to be grown. So basically they're saying all of your raised beds that you build to put together, that just causes so much of a heavy burden on your carbon footprint that you basically just shouldn't grow a garden at all. It literally says in the article, building raised beds and garden sheds contributed to higher levels of emissions. Okay, you don't actually have to build a raised bed to grow a garden, but whatever. When you start studying the news cycles and news stories, you start to notice patterns in these things. And like the title of this, for instance, carbon footprint of homegrown food, 5 times greater than those grown conventionally. A lot of people aren't actually going to click and read this article. They're just going to see the title of the article. And whatever their beliefs are, they're either going to be, yes, I agree. Like, we got to crack down on those home gardeners. And the other people like me are like, are you serious? Like, why would they say that? I immediately go to who is actually funding like studies like this, and what do they have to gain from that? These are the kind of things my mind starts to think when I see a comical title of a story like this. Like, they're attacking people for wanting to be more self-sufficient in their backyard. I have a problem with that. Like, that's like, it's funny for me, but a lot of people might read that and think that it's true. See, the problem I have with articles like this, besides them being basically propaganda in my eyes, is that the problem is always you. They always want you to feel like you're the problem, and you need to make these changes, and you need to give the corporations and powers that be the only, way to solve these problems that they say is to give them more power. Isn't that funny? It's like, don't even worry about trying to grow your own food, because you should just give all your money to conventional farms that use all the most terrible soil practices and use the most awful drugs and pesticides that actually give people, things like cancer. And they want you to just do that because it's a lot worse for you to try to grow your own food. I remember last year there was, I think it was like the USDA or something, wanted everybody to register their home garden. And my first thought was like, I laughed, like, yeah, why would I do that? Because at any moment they could just turn around and say, you know what? You can't have that. We're going to come and confiscate, your farm, your little backyard garden is a problem. It's a burden on the carbon footprint, So no, I'm not going to register my garden. Last year, maybe it was the last couple of years, the bird flu was a big thing. There were these horror stories about people going to these big poultry farms and just decimating, killing out entire hundreds, thousands of birds just to prevent the spread of the bird flu. And it's just stories like that just made me go buy more chickens. Like, I hatched more chickens than I even need. But it's just how I respond to these stories. Now, the big thing that actually opened my eyes to a lot of corruption and things in the world. I'm going to share the story, and I'm not going to say any key words that might get this video in trouble. And that's scary enough, right? That I have to watch what I'm saying to avoid censoring myself on this platform. Whatever. Here we go. I think most of you will be able to follow along with what I'm saying, that are aware of what's going on. But here we go. What if there was this virus going around, and there was a cheap and very available alternative medicine that could help people with this virus, with a safe track record, and it's typically used for animals but could be used for humans too? What if somebody recommended a certain affordable treatment and they really wanted to stop the spread and help people? You'd think they'd let everybody try it, right? Wrong. That's not what happened. So what happened is, one of the oldest medical journals in the world, they released this study on how this drug actually performs super poorly against the so-called virus. They did this study really fast, published it out, and they basically said that this treatment was ineffective and shouldn't be used or recommended by doctors. But what ended up happening is the study actually had to be retracted because they found out that the way that they conducted the study was to end up with the result that they wanted, was to say that this inexpensive medicine was ineffective. Why would somebody fund a study to have a certain end result? Like, you start to put these questions in your mind. Why would somebody want to do that? There must be a lot of money invested in the actual solution that they wanted to push to people in the public, not some cheap thing that certain corporations wouldn't profit from. What do you think? So, like, that study makes me think about this study from the University of Michigan or whatever, saying that home gardeners are, responsible for 5 times the amount of carbon footprint as conventional farms. Who's funding that study? Who's funding these studies? Same people that are funding all the media that we consume on a daily basis that gets us to alter our perceptions on reality. It's really hard being awake, in a sense, when everyone around you is just, like, literally sleepwalking through life, and they can only talk about, like, Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift and, like, football and these sports idols that they worship, and honestly, these people, like, that don't even care about you, and you know everything about every game and all the stats and all the sports, but these people, these athletes, don't even know you, they don't care about you, but you worship them. You're distracted by all these things, and I used to fall victim to that too. I was so wrapped up in that sports culture, and I was oblivious to a lot of things going on. It's like, you know the names and stats from every game of all these sports teams, but you have no clue about where your food comes from, what's in your food, how it's grown. I eventually realized all this energy and time I wasted basically watching sports and worshiping these idols could have been so much better spent if I had spent time back in the day putting all that time and energy into creating something of value that could benefit others. That realization got me to this point and where we are now, where we own our home and land debt-free. We're growing a lot of our own food, not all of it. Hopefully will be a lot more this year. And a lot of people might try to push you to do that in fear of all these, bad things that might happen. But I choose not to do it out of fear. I do it for a couple reasons. One is just to protect my family. I just can't allow myself or my family and my kids to knowingly ingest poisons that I know are in every kind of snack at the store. And my kids know how to pick out look at the ingredients and know what's good and what's bad, which is really awesome. I'm really proud of my children. So I'm doing this to make a solution to that problem of those poor ingredients at the store. But it's also because I enjoy farming. I love growing food. I love getting my hands in the dirt and growing stuff myself. You really got to do this for the right reasons. You can't do it out of fear. Can't do it out of hate. Can't do it out of anything. You just have to love doing it. You learn to love it. It's a passion. Now, if you are interested in growing your own personal garden this year, down below in the details of this video, you can sign up for our newsletter, and for free, you'll get sent our garden plans. For right behind me is our 400 square foot garden. I did a few videos on that this year, last year, and this year we're going to make it even bigger and better than ever. And I'm giving 2 separate plans for the 400 square foot garden. One of them includes plans for these raised beds behind me. And another plan is for some in-ground permanent raised beds, so a different kind of way of growing food without the raised beds. And I also have plans for a chicken garden where I'm planning to grow a lot of food for my chickens this year to save money on the feed bill and see how much I could grow for my chickens in a small square footage space. So if you're interested in any of those things, sign up down below for our newsletter and you'll get sent those garden plans for free. If you enjoyed this video, please give this video a thumbs up. And subscribe to our channel if you're new here, and you'll get a lot more content coming up on small-scale gardening in your backyard. A lot of chicken content and stuff of that nature. So if you're interested in that, please subscribe. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.